Hi there. So this tutorial was put together based on a post in Chief Delphi by 8069 about modeling 8020 in the robot. So I just thought that'd be a good tutorial to do. So first off, 8020, you can buy it with McMaster Car, and the nice thing about McMaster Car is they'll include drawings, and there's all the dimensions that we need for this. So what I've done is I've taken a picture of that using the snipping tool in Windows, and I've inserted it into a sketch. So I created a sketch in here, and sorry, I've got another page on my screen here. So here's my part studio, and I've created a sketch, and I've used the front plane, and I've inserted that so that way as I'm working, I don't need to, I can just refer to that. So first off, there's some simple stuff in the beginning. I've got a little circle in the middle, and that circle is 0.205 inches. And then I've got a center point rectangle. And so this one is 0.355 inches, 0.3. And by center point, everything's lined up nicely. Now, the next part is a little bit tricky because you've got this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a construction square on the outside. That's 1 inches by 1 inches. And I'm going to then create a construction line from corner to corner, just so that I've got everything kind of lined up. So these lines right here, I can do them. So I'm just going to create another line, and you'll notice that I'm using constraints. You notice how everything's orange, so this is going to be parallel to that diagonal line, and it's going to be constrained along both of those. So I can do that, and I'm going to do the same thing on here. So I hold my mouse over and get it so that it's parallel. So there we go. So I've got those lines, and what I want to do is that thickness. So there, I need that thickness to be 0.087 divided by 2. And I'm going to do the same thing for this. So I click the 2 lines. There we go. So I can mirror these now. So that's going to be my mirror line. So now that is exactly 0.087. Just turn off the mirror, do the same thing. There's my mirror line. And there we go. So now I have these parts. And now I need to create this distance right here. So I'm just gonna use some dots on here. So there's one, there's the other one. So these points are going to be constrained. So they're, first off, they're on those lines. Secondly, they're horizontal to each other. And what I want to do now is set the distance between them to be this distance 0.585. So, and I'll use the same concept over here. This time, these are vertical to each other. And the distance to them, same thing. And again, all of these things can be mirrored. So that way everything's lined up exactly the way I need it. Okay, so now the next point is going to be a line. And so it's going to go So those two lines, I didn't set their distance, but what I want to do is set my length between those two lines. So this point and that point has got to be 0.585. And I want to make sure that those lines are equal to each other. So here's the tricky part. If I right click, I can select other, and then I can hold my mouse over till I get the right line that I want. So I've selected that one, and same thing, select other, that one. So now those are lined up exactly the way I want them. And like everything, I can mirror those. So I've got my two lines there. And I need to do the same thing over here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start deleting these because it's just going to confuse me. So there's a vertical line, and that vertical line is going to be equal in distance to that vertical line. So again, let's mirror that. Okay, so I just realized I've made a little mistake here, but that's okay. Okay, so that one is the inner one, which is 0.5. So this one is my outer one, which should be 0.255. And because I've used constraints, everything gets put together perfectly. Now, why is that not horizontal? There's a couple little constraints here, which are I made some mistakes here. Let's just make sure that everything is dimensioned properly. The key thing is making sure you've got your constraints. So now I just need to connect these items. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to start with that dot and go make sure that that's constrained. And you'll notice I've lined things up, so everything's constrained. And same thing for this. There's my constraints. And like always, I can use the mirror tool to quickly throw these lines all in, and I've got the basic profile. So there we go. That is it. Now, obviously, if you look at how this image is structured, there's lots of curves and stuff like that. So you can easily use tools like the fillet tool to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save that sketch. So there's my profile, and I'm going to extrude the sketch. And there's a 12-inch section of 80/20. Now, I can go in and I can add fillets to do this. The key thing to keep in mind is every time you add different features, it's going to add more processing power. So the question is it worth it? And that's an answer that you need to figure out. You can obviously get the look and get the curves that you want, but then you're paying a processing price. If those things are critical to manufacturing and it's not because you're just simply taking a piece of 80/20 and cutting it, then I would suggest not doing it. Because then you're dealing with worst case scenario in terms of weight, and processing happens much faster, and then later on you can go in and tweak it. Now, this is great, but we want to be able to configure this. So that's going to be a feature, which there's my configuration panel. And what I want to do is I'm going to configure features. So I'm going to configure my extrude feature. Okay, so there we go. I've got it. And I'm going to rename this part 80/20C so that people know it's configurable. So once I've got that, now that I've added that configuration, I can now go into my assembly. I can insert my part. So and I can modify it. I just made a mistake in there. So I could have some set pieces in there. The other thing that I could do, I'm just going to do this, is I'm going to add a variable. So I'm just going to put that variable there. And for my extrude, I'm just going to fix this up. Configuration variable, that's what I was dealing with. So default is 24 inches. There's a minimum and a maximum. Okay, so that's configured. So now in my assembly, I should be able to click on the part. Whoops, go back to assembly. Just going to delete this piece and insert a new one. So now I can set it. So if I want the first part that I insert be 30 inches, there's 30 inch. And then I want to insert another one. This one I only want to be 12 inches. And I can set that to be 12 inches. And you can see there it is. So I can easily modify the different parts. And the problem is that in your bill of materials, you've got the part number. So what I would suggest doing so 80/20 length of 80/20. I believe I can do that. So if I put the name in there, there is a way to specify it, but this is the problem in the bill of materials, is keeping track of how big everything is. Anyways, hope that helps. Good luck with it. It's a nice little modeling problem, but then you can easily add custom ones without a lot of overhead. Have a good one.